First of all, did you know or how did you come to meet John Ripley?
Yes, I personally had the honor to know Colonel Ripley. I first met him when he became associated with the organization I work with. The organization is called the American Society for the Defense of Tradition, Family, and Property, or TFP for short. And we first met Colonel Ripley when we launched a book in 1995. The book was about leadership. It was called The Book of Nobility and Analogous Traditional Elites in the Allocutions of Pope Pius XII. And it was interesting that Colonel Ripley met us through this book because he was exactly the personification of what this book spoke about, the role of leaders, their crucial role in society. And then over the years I basically stayed in touch with Colonel Ripley. Our association, we have a boys' boarding school called the St. Louis de Montfort Academy. On a number of occasions I took some of the boys down to meet Colonel Ripley. He was always extremely gracious with his time. And I had the chance to meet him on several other occasions. I visited him in the hospital when he had his crisis with his liver transplants, and that's basically the way I got to know him.
Mm-hmm. Well, based on that, is that what prompted you to write the book, or tell us more about what prompted you to write it?
What prompted me to write the book is I've always had a great love for the Marine Corps. As far as I'm concerned, the Marine Corps represents in many ways values that are most precious to Americans, and they represent what's best in America in many ways. And Colonel Ripley was a Marine, and I think he was the best of the best. Now, someone could take that and say, well, you know, we were speaking earlier about Smedley Butler, and you have Dan Daly, the great Chesty Puller, who won 5 Navy Crosses. Colonel Ripley only won 1. They obviously were much greater, but I base what I say as much on what Colonel Ripley did off the battlefield as what he did on the battlefield. So he won the Navy Cross, but Colonel Ripley himself said that there are 2 forms of courage: physical courage and moral courage. So Colonel Ripley exemplified very much on the battlefield physical courage, but he also showed a great moral courage by opposing certain cultural things that were taking place back in 1995. And by standing up and speaking out on these serious issues, he showed an unbelievable moral courage. Now somebody could say, well, you probably would ask, well, what were those issues? Well, I'll just leave that as a kind of a teaser. If you want to know the other side of the man, you can buy a copy of An American Night and find out what he said. But the thing is, what he said was truly beautiful when he spoke out. And I actually like the phrase that General Patton once said, which I put in my book, that really what this country needs is a few good men to say what they think, not what they think others want them to think. And that was Colonel John Ripley. He spoke out, he addressed issues that were politically incorrect, and in my opinion, it's that really defines the greatness of the man more than even the destruction of the Bridge of Dong Ha. And I've had a number of Marines that tell me this. So my reason for writing the book, the motivation was to honor the man as a kind of a token of gratitude for all that he did for our country, both on and off the battlefield. But also to tell the other side of the man, which few people know. Everyone you speak to, they know about the Bridge of Dong Ha, they know about what he did there, but few people know the man off the battlefield, and I wanted to tell that story.
Excellent. As you were doing your research and getting into this, was there anything that was strikingly impressive that you didn't know or didn't feel coming into the book?
You know, the research part of the book, Colonel Ford, was actually very interesting. I'm a person that I've always gravitated towards biographies, and when you really get into the nuts and bolts of the man, it was a very interesting process. So there were many things I learned that I did not know. The most striking one was the fact that when Colonel Ripley was a boy growing up in Radford, Virginia, behind his boyhood house was the New River, and there was an island in the middle of the river called Castle Island. Colonel Ripley spent a lot of time with his boyhood friend Mickey Runyon, Vietnam vet who died very heroically in Vietnam. And there was a bridge, a railroad bridge that went across the river that the family referred to as the trestle. And Colonel Ripley would go down there and perform all kinds of feats of courage and daring on that bridge. He would walk across the top of it. I actually had the chance to see this bridge, to look at it from underneath, to actually get up on top, climb on it as Colonel Ripley did, and it was a bit frightening. I don't like heights. But there was one thing that he did that was very interesting, is he would actually climb, he would hand walk underneath the bottom of that bridge, dangling over the New River. Now, obviously, anyone that knows Colonel Ripley's story, they know that he's most known for what he did in Dong Ha, and basically what he did required him to also hand walk underneath the Dong Ha bridge to plant the explosives and to blow that bridge up. So that was one of the things that I found most interesting about Colonel Ripley as a boy. I also was happy to find out that his family, they were a Catholic family. His father, Bud, I think had a great influence on Colonel Ripley. He was a man that was a very devout Catholic, a big devotee to the Blessed Virgin Mary. He prayed his rosary daily, attended Mass frequently. And those are things that I expected to find, things that show the reason why Colonel Ripley did a lot of things that he did. It's based on moral principles that were instilled in him by his parents. But basically, those are the things that really jump out at me, things that I learned about Colonel Ripley that I didn't know.
Outstanding. You also have a website, a blog site. If we want to read more about some of the things you're doing, what could you tell us where that is?
Yes, I have a blog called Modern American Heroes, which sprang up out of the fact that I was writing a number of articles about American military heroes that I wanted to give attention to, that I don't think are highlighted enough. That blog is called Modern American Heroes. It's a WordPress blog. You can just get it by modernamericanheroes.com. Also have a book website, anyone that's interested, for the book on Colonel Ripley, An American Knight, and that's very simple. It's just americanknight.org.
Outstanding. An American Knight, The Life of Colonel John W. Ripley, United States Marine. Thank you very much for writing the book, and thanks for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Colonel Ford. A pleasure to be with you.